Hey, I'm very excited to share that our fellow Radiotopia show, The Stoop, is back with a new season. In case you didn't know, The Stoop is a place to hear vulnerable stories that highlight the diversity of Blackness. Through history, storytelling, experts, and opinions, there is no conversation that's too difficult to be told. Hosts Leela and Hannah are award-winning storytellers and journalists. And this season, it's all about Black love. But we're not talking love stories, but stories about traveling alone, obsessions, Black love scenes in film, and breaking down the generational patterns that keep us stuck. It's all love on The Stoop as they celebrate their 100th episode by deconstructing love. Join them every other Thursday wherever you get your podcasts, and follow them on Instagram at The Stoop Podcast.
From Mermaid Palace and Radiotopia, welcome to the heart. I'm Caitlin Prest. What you're about to hear is the third episode of a series that my friend Jess Shane made. The reason why I picked the third episode is because it tells the story of a certain kind of intimacy. It's a kind of intimacy and a kind of boundary confusion that I am very familiar with. It's the intimacy that develops when you have set out to document somebody else's life experience. Up until very recently, when I did a series with my sister where we realized that boundaries would save our relationship, I basically treat every single person on the face of the earth with the degree of intimacy that most people reserve exclusively for best friends, family members, and life partners. I have traditionally had a very hard time understanding what boundaries are for, especially in a professional context. I have learned my lesson on multiple occasions in a variety of different, extremely painful ways. Listening to this episode made me feel a little bit less alone about the thing that I find naturally happens when you spend time with people, asking them questions about really deep and intense things that have happened in their life. I've always had a hard time leaving things at the door. This is why I had to quit doing social work early in my life when I thought that that was going to be my job. I didn't really understand why you wouldn't extend whatever support or help you had to people who were struggling. I didn't understand why you would maintain limits around the kinds of things that you might talk about with somebody that you see every day. In my mind, it was like, just because our relationship began because of something clear and specific and maybe a little bit transactional, I couldn't figure out how not to care about the entire person. And if I was in a position to help, I would. Having the exact kind of intimacy and boundary confusion that I've often had when spending a lot of time with somebody, interviewing them about their life. So this episode is the third episode of Jess Shane's 5-part series. The series isn't just about getting close to people that you're working with. It's about something much bigger than that. It's about the fundamental premise of this type of work, documentary work, getting paid, calling yourself a professional, of telling other people's stories, accumulating prestige as a result of it, and all of the ethical quandaries that are embedded in these practices. In the first and the second episode, Jess shines a light on the ethical problems about the traditional ways that the industry approaches this, and she tries to do something different. By the time we get to the third episode, Jess has put out a call on Craigslist asking for people who want to share their stories in a documentary that will go out on Radiotopia Presents. She shared with them what this project is about. Jess has broken a few typical documentary rules that I've always thought were total bullshit. The first one being that you're not supposed to pay your subjects. She's agreed to pay the people who are being interviewed, and she's agreed to collaboratively figure out what the stories are going to look like. The second episode features a man named Ernesto, and this episode features a woman named Judy, the woman that Jess ended up getting pretty involved with. This entire thing is really about boundaries at the end of the day. This is Shocking, Heartbreaking, Transformative by Jess Shane on Radiotopia Presents.
Hi. A quick note that this show is serialized, so make sure to listen to the episodes in order. It's 8 a.m. on a blustery fall day in early September, and I'm waiting by the doors of a church in Upper Manhattan. The doors swing open, and there's Judy. She's a white woman in her early 70s, with shoulder-length gray, wavy hair and kind eyes. Hi, Judy.
Hey, how are you? You're an early bird. Let me get everything out.
Yeah. Judy lives in this church. It doubles as a shelter, but residents have to clear out all their things at 8 a.m. every day. So Judy makes several trips back inside to remove 7 large reusable shopping bags, all packed to the brim. Then the church doors close, and Judy uses a car window as a mirror to brush out her hair.
These are the little things that when you don't have, you learn to make adjustments.
Judy is the next documentary subject I've got lined up. And since she has to be out of the shelter all day, we've planned to head over to a nearby diner to talk. I offer to carry some of her bags.
Oh my God.
Is that all right, or is that too much?
No, I'm fine. I'm just amazed that they're so heavy. Are yours that heavy?
Judy's life has been particularly chaotic since we first met. So while I'm now almost finished gathering tape with Ernesto, and have already scheduled preliminary interviews with my 2 other subjects, Judy has been difficult to coordinate with.
So, Judy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We met because I'm making this series.
Right.
Do you still want to do the series? I know that you're dealing with a ton of stuff. It's just like on my end, if you don't want to be involved, then I just need to know sooner.
Well, right now, I'm open-minded. I'm not saying it one way or the other, but I want to contribute to your goal. It's just that I'm completely at the mercy of others right now.
Shortly after we decided to work together, a legal emergency came up in Judy's life. An emergency that led her to consider pulling out of my project altogether. Part of why Judy and I are meeting today is so that I can introduce her to a lawyer I know who I think might be able to help out. As we head into the meeting, I turn off my recorder, because today, getting Judy's story on tape just isn't my priority. I'm Jess Shane, and this is Shocking, Heartbreaking, Transformative. After my auditions, I book preliminary interviews with all my subjects. I record with Ernesto first. And soon after that, I meet up with Michael, a middle-aged black writer and rapper recently out of prison. Michael is super tall, 6'6", with glasses, a close-crop fade, and a slow grace to his movements that's surprising for his size.
I joined the gang in this park. That's where I got initiated at. I'm like a hood legend in this park, Bristol Park. Yeah, everybody knows me.
Michael and I decide to have our first meeting in his childhood neighborhood of Brownsville in Brooklyn. Because, he says, this is where his story began.
It's just a typical hood story. Like, person comes from a bad neighborhood and bad things happen. But a lot of the stories end tragically too. And my story didn't end tragically, so now sky's the limit for me.
Michael is a writer and has a lot of ideas about what makes a good story. He recently completed a program that teaches formerly incarcerated people about public speaking. He shares some structural suggestions that he was taught that might apply to our documentary about him.
They wanted us to keep it short, and they wanted to tell us how to start it in the beginning, how to do the middle part, you know, to keep the people in like suspense, so that way people will be interested in your story.
A week after meeting Michael, I sit down with Jess, a Hawaiian punk musician in their early 20s who recently learned they're adopted. Heavily tattooed with a bunch of facial piercings, Jess's aesthetic is tough, but underneath, they're obviously a softie.
Honestly, I feel like my headspace has been pretty awful these past couple of days. I feel like sometimes talking helps me a lot.
In our first interview, Jess is quick to open up with some of the emotional upheaval of being newly connected to their bio family, who until recently they didn't even know existed.
I've been wanting siblings for so long, and to find out I have like exactly what I wanted, like a younger one and an older one. I felt very pressured to like have this perfect relationship with them because like it's everything I wanted. I can't fuck it up.
Like with Ernesto, in these first interviews, I'm just trying to get to know Michael and Jess, to narrow in on what their stories might be. I wrap up our conversations and tell them I'll circle back soon. I reach out to Judy a few different times to try to book an interview, but I don't hear back. I don't want to give up on her, though, because out of everyone I met, Judy is the person I've been most excited to talk to. When Judy showed up to her audition, I started with my standard spiel about my project. I'm interested in talking to people who have interesting life experience that they want to share for some reason, and who are interested in having conversations about what it means to share that experience. Why are you laughing?
That's kind of loaded.
I'd done this spiel 30 times by this point, but Judy was the only person to press me about the media criticism portion of my project.
And the media has tremendous impact on people's lives. I don't want to stray from myself because you want my story.
No, this is part of it.
I'm just citing an example of something that happened a couple of days ago. There was a man who...
She told me about an article she'd read that week in the New York Post. It was about an unhoused man who had built a shelter for himself on the Manhattan Bridge. She said it was this story that alerted the city of the man's presence, which then prompted a violent eviction.
Sure, they were trying to get readers to read about the unusual aspect of this man's life, but did they think this thing through? I thought it was reckless and irresponsible.
Judy's understanding of the stakes of my project was exciting to me. Judy herself was exciting to me. I liked her outspokenness.
I actually wanted to contact the reporter and confront him on this.
Our shared interests.
I was always interested in the arts, and I majored in art and art history.
Me too. On some level, it comforted me that we had a shared class background.
I had the blessing of growing up with privilege.
And it seemed like the recognition was mutual. We're gonna get along.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Judy told me about her husband Richard and how she ended up living in a shelter, my heart especially went out to her.
When Richard got sick, he couldn't work. We fell behind in the rent. We were taken to housing court for non-payment. And during the litigation process in the housing court, Richard died, leaving me in a state of complete panic.
And unlike Ernesto, or Michael, or Jess for that matter, Judy seemed to know exactly what she wanted out of participating in this series. Understandably, I think you have sort of distrust of the media.
Yeah.
But, I'm part of the media.
Right.
Is there anything you want to get clear with me?
I'll tell you the truth.
Point?
What my aspiration is for my involvement in this project of yours. My goal is to get my life back on track, to become normal again, not to be considered unstably housed or homeless. I would like to contribute something to society, to share with the audience the fact that homelessness, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody listening might give me a chance.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah. When I cast Judy, she seemed excited, grateful even. But I felt like the lucky one. Her big personality and critical thinking, they seemed like just the right ingredients for my documentary project. But getting in touch with her was another story.
I'm sorry, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call again later. Goodbye.
Her phone would ring but never connect. For weeks, the only text I got from her said, "I'll call you back." But I wouldn't get a call. And then I got this massive, frantic novel of a text message, mostly in all caps. It was about an impending eviction, a court case, an evil landlord, and a negligent lawyer. It was actually pretty hard to understand, so I followed up with a phone call.
Jess.
Hi, Judy.
Oh boy, what a day. I sent you a text message. I don't know if you got the chance to look at it.
I did, yes I did. Judy explained to me that a court case about her old apartment got postponed in the COVID moratorium on evictions. Judy might be able to move back into her old apartment if she can cover the unpaid rent from the past 3 years.
The landlord's attorney calculated that the rental arrear debt is $58,000. So,
oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
She tells me that a big part of why she needs to get back into that specific apartment is because her landlord has formally agreed to accept something called a rental assistance voucher. Theoretically, this voucher could pay Judy's rent in her apartment for the rest of her life. From the sounds of it, Judy has 6 weeks to raise almost $60,000. But if she pulls it off, it's possible she'll be able to move back into her old apartment.
I feel like I'm in a six-ring circuit.
Some high stakes for my Judy documentary.
It's a very dirty business.
This is like a classic villainization of homelessness, which is really a state-created problem.
You're so correct. You're so correct.
There's just one hitch. I don't know anything about housing law or evictions or rent vouchers. I reach out to my lawyer friend Alex.
Hey. Hello.
She works on policy to decriminalize homelessness.
Yes, so Judy. Yeah, like I know that Judy sent you that text message, but have you heard anything else from her?
I tell Alex about Judy's situation, and she has a lot of questions. Like, why is Judy even living in a shelter when her eviction case is still active? Alex asks me to ask Judy if she'd like Alex to look into her case. Alex thinks she might be able to offer some support to Judy's attorney, as well as to offer Judy some clarity about the actions her attorney has or hasn't been taking. I try to follow up with Judy about scheduling a time to talk in person. I figure when we finally meet, I can tell her about Alex's offer.
I'm sorry, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
But another week of missed calls goes by. And when Judy finally writes back, she says that because of how vulnerable she is right now, she can't commit to anything that isn't directly contributing to solving her legal problems, including being part of my documentary. My heart sinks. I feel conflicted. I understand where she's coming from, and I don't want to put anything more on her plate. At the same time, I think her situation could be a valuable setup to meaningfully explore how people can fall through the holes in the social safety net and wind up unhoused. Plus, for more than a month now, I've been banking on working with Judy on this series, and I don't have a backup plan. Then I read Judy's text again. I can't commit to anything that isn't directly contributing to solving my legal problems. In a sense, it's not actually a no. Is it an invitation? Maybe even a challenge? Maybe this is the opportunity I've been looking for a fair documentary exchange.
Maybe somebody listening might give me a chance. Yeah. You never know.
I learned working with Ernesto that letting a documentary subject lead comes with all kinds of challenges. But this is something different. Judy seems to be proposing that she'll let me document her, and in exchange, I'll use my skills, platform, and privilege to help her improve her circumstances. In some ways, this setup sounds more fair and more transparent than the usual documentary arrangement. The give and take is much clearer and more direct than some vague notion of the power and promise of storytelling. I text Judy back, and I tell her about my friend Alex, how I think Alex might be able to help. I ask Judy if we can all meet up. For once, Judy texts back within seconds. Yes, thank you, she writes. I'm a strong believer in win-win situations.
Oy.
And that's how I find myself carrying Judy's shockingly heavy bags to a legal meeting on a windy September morning. Holed up in a bustling diner, Alex patiently explained what she's learned from Judy's attorney. I didn't record this meeting, but I'm going to give you a recap. So, we start by talking about that rental assistance voucher that Judy already told me about. The one that could theoretically pay her future rent in her old apartment. Getting set up for that voucher is worth doing as soon as possible, because it's something concrete that Judy's attorney can point to as a good argument for postponing her upcoming eviction. And according to Alex, this should be pretty straightforward. The biggest hurdle is that Judy will have to move out of the church-run shelter where she's been living for years now and into a different city-run shelter. At first, Judy isn't interested in moving. She doubts that any new shelter will be better than her current situation, or even that moving will actually get her closer to securing that voucher. But Alex is one step ahead. She calls up Judy's caseworker for backup. Not only does he confirm what Alex has said, but he also discovers in real time that through some bureaucratic loophole, Judy's voucher application has already gone through and been approved early. She will still have to move shelters in order to ensure that the application stays active, but otherwise, this voucher is in the bag. The caseworker also lets us know that because Judy is a senior, she'll have priority getting a single room at the new shelter, and likely will be able to move within the week. 2 coffee refills later, Judy has done a 180 on the idea of changing shelters, and the elusive rent voucher is finally within reach.
And this opens up a whole universe to me of options.
Judy and I are now sitting on a bench in a little parquet between 2 wide streets. She's absolutely elated.
On this very day, the deadline for me to hand over $60,000 to my landlord in Brooklyn, which I had sleepless nights over, turned out that I was awarded the voucher.
But this isn't quite right. The truth is that her decision to move only ensures that she qualifies for the voucher. It won't actually kick in until the rent debt has been paid, and the apartment will have to pass a safety inspection. But it's definitely a step in the right direction. And for the moment, the future looks brighter.
So, Judy, what do you want to do now?
We're going to celebrate. This is a major, major event, and just enjoy the fact that we're alive.
It's amazing to see Judy like this, and to know that just by connecting her with the right resource, I was a small part of helping her get here. And the cherry on top, Judy is back on board with the documentary.
Well, the questions that you asked me and I responded to, will that material be helpful to your project?
What we can do is try to tell the story of someone like you in this situation who's trying to get housing.
Sure.
Try to make this process a little bit more transparent for someone who might be listening.
Sure.
The possibility of supporting Judy and gathering tape for my series along the way, tape that will surely illuminate the complex nature of homelessness as per Judy's goals, it somehow feels clear, feels right. I'm a little elated too, to be honest. And then Judy rifles in her bag and pulls out a packaged brownie.
I want you to have this, sweetheart. This is a delicious treat.
Oh, it looks so good, but Judy, I insist.
No.
Can we share it?
You're my honored guest.
This is a big brownie. There's enough for both of us.
So you'll eat it on 2 separate occasions.
Oh, come on.
Yes, sweetheart. Put everything in the bag.
I really don't want to take this from you.
I would feel terrible if you went away and you didn't take it.
Oh, but actually, Judy, remember, I don't know if you know this, but when we talked originally about this documentary, I have a budget to pay you for any time you spend with me. So I actually owe you $40.
What?
Yes. $20 an hour.
Go away. It's my privilege to spend time with you, my goodness.
So I'll take this as long as you take that.
Win-win situation. Judy and I agree to keep in touch about our respective projects.
Judy, would you mind if I tried recording some of this meeting for the podcast?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
It's late September now, and Judy and I are meeting near the city-run shelter she's just moved into. The new shelter is a big step up from the old one. I'm disappointed to hear that it's not quite the single room she was promised. The walls are more like cubicle dividers, so there's no privacy. It's loud and crowded, and police cars are always parked outside. But for the first time in years, Judy doesn't have to be outside all day, rain or shine, carrying heavy bags of stuff around.
You know, Jess, I reflect back on this whole experience, and I think to myself, I lived through that during the whole duration of the pandemic.
Yeah, I don't know
when there was nowhere to go. There were signs throughout the whole city that said, "Stay home, stay safe." There was an assumption that everybody had a home. That's something that's interesting, journalistically speaking.
Oh, totally.
And Judy seems overall energized by the change, which makes me feel energized too. But there's still so much to be done before we can get the voucher activated. We've got to raise close to $60,000 and make sure the apartment will pass a health and safety inspection. And we only have a few months. But Alex and I have made a plan. She is going to collaborate with Judy's attorney on legal strategy and fundraising, and I'm going to work with Judy on getting her apartment ready for inspection. During our meeting with Alex, Judy clarified why she's currently homeless, even though she was never actually evicted. When her husband Richard was going through cancer treatment, the couple was forced to move into a hotel because in Richard's state, he could no longer access their third-floor home. To save money, the couple got rid of 2 storage units and dumped all their contents into the apartment, which by that point they weren't using anyhow. So now the place is too full of stuff to live in. And Judy's worried about how hard it will be to clear everything out.
Do you think that we could get into the apartment and just spend 2 days and go through the stuff?
There's no room. I put everything in the front. The place is packed.
We can open the door and take out the stuff by the door. We can do it bit by bit. I don't know.
There's no order whatsoever. Right. None. No order. And it will take literally the longest period of time for me to sort things out.
But we don't have the longest period of time before the eviction.
So right now, you have 2 weeks. I know that's not enough time.
Of course it's not enough time.
But it's not no time.
We haven't figured out how to pay for it or who's going to move the stuff.
Like any good producer, for every problem Judy raises, I have a solution.
Like we could go today, we could start.
It's not that simple. Things are just piled up one on top of the other with
right.
Total disorder.
I happen to be extremely good at making order out of disorder.
Well,
in the weeks that follow, we have a lot of meetings in a lot of different coffee shops.
Do you want to talk about sort of the strategy to get some of the most precious things, or?
Well,
I still believe that the best use of our time together is getting Judy's apartment in order and recovering her essential possessions for safekeeping. But Judy wants to do more research about her rights around the eviction.
Let me ask you something. There is a phone number. It's called New York City Court Answers or things like that. Can we look that up and see if somebody answers the phone?
We wait on hold, get passed between departments for 30 minutes or so.
Good afternoon, Housing Court Answer. Can I get your name?
My name is Judy.
It's a dead end. I take it as an opportunity to refocus. Judy, not so much.
I'd like to brainstorm with you ideas we would present to the housing court, a judge, anything we can do to outline arguments. I think would help them.
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to do that.
And sometimes Judy's plans seem a little unrealistic, particularly when it comes to the back rent she owes.
Make the amount, instead of 60, make it like 20. And let him allow me to stay there for a few months, like 4 or 5 months. And then I'll move. It'll be a win-win situation, and that's my idea.
This is not lining up with the strategic plan I made with Alex. maybe Judy just needs more time to steel herself for some really big changes. At the same time, there are other parts of this series I'm supposed to be working on.
Hey, Jess. I would love to do a follow-up interview whenever you're free and have the time to. And yeah.
Michael and Jess are reaching out every so often about our next interviews.
Give me a call when you get this message. Talk to you soon.
In October, I slow pedal them. I explain that I'm working with a small team, that things with the project are hectic and I'm still getting my ducks in a row. And it's true, I'm wrapping up recording with Ernesto, wrestling with his tape, but my work shadowing and researching for Judy takes up the brunt of my time. And by November, things are still on the back burner with Michael and Jess. And I've legitimately started feeling flaky. I haven't circled back as I promised months ago. And although I've requested that they stay tuned, the reality is that between Ernesto and the deep Judy rabbit hole I've continued to tumble down, I just don't have a lot of time. In November, Judy and I meet again, this time at a pizza shop. For now, Judy's attorney has managed to get another short extension of her eviction. Between Kafkaesque phone calls and brainstorming Hail Mary negotiation strategies, Judy and I are coming to care about each other. I'm gonna go get us a snack, okay?
Stay with me. Stay with me.
You want me to get you a snack?
Not right now. I'm not hungry at all.
Okay.
I'm more interested in you sharing this experience with me. It's very, very valuable. I want you to be with me.
I get to know the daily drama at the shelter.
Oh, hell, somebody's in the bathroom. Yeah, I'm in the bathroom. That's what it's for.
About her late husband.
I will declare this, that Richard is and was my soulmate.
She begins to open up.
I've already lost my husband, so, tangible things give me some comfort.
I come to understand that this is the crux of her fear of losing the apartment.
I sort of mentally shut down somewhat when I get very overwhelmed, yeah.
Which clarifies why Judy sometimes disappears for weeks on end.
But I know that, shutting down is not where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like that happens to everybody. And you're dealing with so much overwhelm all the time.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. For better or worse, our relationship is not like one I've ever had with a documentary subject before. And maybe that's because of how invested I've become in a certain outcome for Judy. Not only because I've come to care about her, but because I've started to feel like the success of my series is now tied up with my ability to improve Judy's life circumstances. Our relationship is a roller coaster, moments of tenderness.
All right, love.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you. I'll see you. And moments of transaction. I need to pay you from our session today.
Oh.
Yes, that's in my budget. There are supposedly urgent 3 a.m. voicemails.
Hello, Jess. Jess, it's Judy. I need to talk to you. I'd like to be able to connect with you before the morning, okay?
And one day in January, I get a different sort of wake-up call.
I decided last minute to take a break and go home for a couple of months. I think my mental health really needed it. But yeah, just to give you a heads up, I am back home. At least till April or maybe March. I'm not too sure.
It's a voice note from Jess, who I was last in touch with a month ago now. I'm well aware that I have zero right to bat an eye about Jess's new plans to be out of state for the remainder of the production schedule. But the change does mean that they are out of the series. And I realize that if I don't get a move on, I might lose Michael too.
It's been so long.
I know, man.
Thanks for coming to meet me here.
No problem at all.
After months of dragging my feet, I finally book a second interview with Michael.
All right, so interview number 2.
Yep.
This time we talk for several hours, and the conversation spans his friendships.
They used to call me Hat Master because I used to wear a lot of different hats.
Family.
And my grandmother, she used to go to a lot of Black Power seminars.
The time he spent in prison.
You have to rehabilitate yourself because they're not going to really rehabilitate you.
More about his public speaking class.
When I do my public speaking, I'm helping other people, I'm changing their life, and I'm freeing myself at the same time, too.
and about the book he's writing.
The name of the book is called Conversation is the Motivation to Change the Situation. Yeah, it's almost finished. They got like 3 more chapters to go.
It's an intimate conversation. Michael is so generous, sharing his history and feelings.
How did this interview go for you?
Oh, always a pleasure. Yeah. You're a very good moderator. So, you're welcome. You're welcome, Jeff. It's like we knew each other for years.
I feel really lucky that I get to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Leaving the recording space, Michael has a bounce in his step. It's been 2 hours of mostly him talking. I am absolutely exhausted. But the impression I get is that he was just getting started.
You chose me out of a lot of people, and that is like special to me. And I trust you, you trust me, you know. We could be ourselves around each other. So it's a win-win situation all around.
Win-win. That expression again.
I don't want you to just think that it have to be just business. It could, be personal too. We could go out to eat, go to the movies, stuff like that, And I could get to learn some things about you, just like, things about me. I could get to know things, and you could talk to me about anything. Yeah.
Well, if you ever have questions for me and things you want to talk to me about, you can ask me.
Okay, definitely. Thank you.
In the week following our interview, Michael leaves me a voicemail.
Hi, Jess. This is Michael. I took the day off today, so call me back when you get a chance and we'll talk. All right? I miss you too. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
I take this to mean that he wants to do another interview soon. In response, I shoot him a text to tell him I'll let him know when I'm ready to schedule our next meeting. Then, a few days later, I hear from Michael again. A text message with a photo of him looking dapper in an all-white suit with a fur collar and a fuzzy white fedora. It is an amazing outfit, and I remember how much pride he takes in his clothing, so I heart it and carry on with my day. But then Michael starts sending more texts, like, I hope to see you soon. We need to hang out one day and do something fun. Let me know when you're free. Or another, I miss you, Jess. And then more snapshots, selfies, outfit pics, and then texts suggesting that I send him some photos of myself. And now something feels really off. After some deliberation, I text Michael back saying that while I love his fashion sense, sending photos of myself isn't something I'm comfortable with. Michael responds immediately. He says, I'm sorry, I'm just a picture-friendly person, that's all. Maybe you thought I was flirting with you, and if I made you feel that way, I'm sorry. I'm not that type, but I thought we were friends. Even you suggested that we go skating one day, but now I guess your point of view has changed. So now we will just keep our relationship strictly business. Also, by the way, I wasn't paid for the second interview we did together. I rack my brain for the skating thing. At first, I don't even remember what he's talking about. And then I listen back through the tape from our first interview, and it all comes back.
Ever since I was a kid, all my female cousins, they used to always take me roller skating like every weekend.
During our first interview, Michael had shared with me that he likes to roller skate to decompress. Picturing him relaxing on the rink was so charming that while brainstorming next steps for our work together, I suggested he could show me where he skates sometime.
Maybe we could go rollerblade.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Rollerblade.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I am really bad at rollerblade.
Okay. I'll help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, even if I gotta hold your hand. Yeah, make sure you don't fall.
I was musing that it could make some nice scene tape, theoretically. But it didn't occur to me that Michael might interpret it beyond the bounds of our documentary-induced relationship. I think back to the interviews and phone calls I've had with Michael over the course of this project.
Definitely, yep. We gotta do that roller skating soon, too.
Yeah,
I've been dying to do that.
Instead of studios, I try to interview people in places where I know they're going to feel at ease. I say, let's meet at your place. Let's grab a bite. Let's go roller skating.
Yeah, because I love cooking. Yeah, I got oxtails. I got...
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I might cook some one day and bring you some.
I love that. Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that someone feeling at ease is the surest way to get natural tape. But it's not just about the setting.
We can also just turn off the recorder and just hang out for a bit. I have to leave in probably 40 minutes. Yeah, that's fine.
It's part of my job to be friendly, to be empathetic, to smile often, to laugh easily. I want my subjects to be totally themselves, which is why audio producers often boast that the small size of our equipment and teams helps our subjects actually forget they're being recorded at all. It's not that I'm lying about my commitment to my subjects. I actually do care about all of them.
I don't know if there's anything I can do to support you. Just hit me up.
I'm here for you
I've done
too,
a lot of
Jess.
teaching.
You can just call me if you need something.
You're a tremendously special person.
You are. I just also have an agenda.
I kind of want to bum a smoke from you, and then I'll give you one next time I see you.
You smoke cigarettes?
Yeah. Is that allowed?
I think about the strange intimacy of a long personal interview.
I want to know your dreams and your fears.
About life, or?
Yeah.
When do people talk about the minutiae of their lives and feelings except with dear friends, lovers, therapists, and documentarians?
I love you.
I love you. I'll see you.
I reread Michael's last text and call him back.
Hello?
Hi, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, Shane?
Yeah, Michael has never called me by my last name before. Something's up.
Actually, I'm feeling a bit bad because I just got your text and I feel like I hurt your feelings or confused you or gave you mixed signals or something, and I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't want you to get the wrong impression.
No, not at all. I mean, I just wanted to clarify that while we work on this series, we're also collaborators in a sense. So when I suggested we go skating, for example, it was in the context of an interview. And so I obviously wasn't clear, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to hit on you or nothing like that.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't been sending you mixed signals.
Yeah, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. You're definitely professional. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So now we cleared out about it. Don't you feel better now?
I do, yeah. Thanks for taking my call.
But I don't really feel better. Because it strikes me that Michael is in a moment of his life where opportunities for connection have been hard to come by.
I don't have too many friends where I could hang out with and, do things with, and they don't want nothing from me. So, yeah, they always asking for money or asking for something. So, I know it was going to be like that with you. So, I just wanted somebody, somebody new and refreshing in my life.
No, I get it. Since getting out of prison just over a year ago, Michael has been on parole and hustling just to make ends meet, meeting me for interviews in between shifts at a slew of isolating, low-paid gigs.
Nice. How was work today?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Yeah, I'm about to leave this job, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm about to get a job in the hospital. Yeah, I just did the urine test yesterday, so.
How's the new work schedule treating you?
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
Because you were doing almost a night shift.
Yeah,
before.
night shift. Yeah, $3.
It's only $17 an hour. I always had a fear for driving for a company or anything. Even if you park it wrong, the company going to consider you a liability. And it's not really worth it for $17 either.
It's been taking a toll on his relationships.
I was just having some, relationship issues with my fiance because of all the traumatic things we went through. It's like,
Yeah.
She bailed me out of jail 2 times before. She spent her hard-earned money.
But when he tells his story, Michael gets to bask in the connection of sharing and being listened to, as well as the sense of control that comes from being the narrator of your own life.
Yeah, I never had that support that I really needed. Yep. Yeah, that always been my problem all my life. Yeah, but it's all good though. Things is starting to surface, so things is coming my way. Yeah.
Yep.
Slowly but surely.
This brings me to the other reason I'm left feeling bad. I'm actually really uncertain about whether Michael's story is even a good fit for the series, because I've now realized that he, like Ernesto, has also been on an addiction recovery journey.
I've been clean for almost 4 years now. I don't drink no more. I don't smoke or nothing. So my life completely turned around 360 degrees. So I'm just.
And like Judy, he too has been struggling with unstable housing.
I had to move 3 times in 1 year. So that cost me a lot of money. So
just like now, I live in a homeless shelter, and it's a lot of negative energy in there. So
even though their stories are different, in such a short series, it won't work to repeat content themes.
You have to become a student before you could be a teacher. You got to be quick to listen and slow to speak.
Then there's the problem of how Michael talks about his life. He does this thing that is every audio producer's nightmare.
You need to start treating yourself instead of cheating yourself. I'm living out all my dreams slowly but surely. They said what goes up must come down.
Michael tends to bury every reflection in a torrent of inspirational cliches, which makes sense for a man who has spent a lot of time in institutionalized personal development groups. No matter the reason for the tendency, it makes it harder for me to coax him to speak in specifics, which is the way I need him to tell his story.
If your mind can conceive it, your heart can believe it, you can achieve it.
I don't think I can afford to spend any more time on trying to make Michael's story work for the series. And I'm getting to the end of what I can do for Judy, too.
Seems like your priority is constantly more time, and my priority is like, what can we do right away?
I don't want to comment.
It's now been a year since my auditions, and I'm still heavily involved in Judy's situation. I've talked to lawyers, social service agencies, housing facilities, landlords, and caseworkers, trying to figure out how to get Judy permanently housed. But we're pretty much having the same argument we were having last November. By now, I've clued into a fact that I should have probably figured out a long time ago. Judy's ongoing housing crisis is so much more than anything one person could take on. Worse, I'm starting to think that my deal with her might actually be more harmful than the regular documentarians promise that telling a subject's story has the potential to make a difference. The fact is that I can't help Judy because I can't produce her life the way I would produce a documentary about her life. And even though I've said to Michael that our relationship is purely professional, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't been sloppy with boundaries. Not least because when I started this project, I actually wanted to make space for real collaboration and even friendship. But the big picture is that I wouldn't have a relationship with Michael or Judy if I didn't also need something from them. So now what? It's June, and my funding is almost gone. The series is scheduled to launch in early September. I've got drafts of the first 3 episodes. But I'm nervous, because my new rules for doing documentary seem to have backfired at every turn. And when the series airs, it's not going to present the stories my subjects said they wanted to make at their auditions. I'm not even sure the series will present a story my subjects are comfortable with at all. There's only one thing I can do. I have a window before I have to lock these episodes down. It's just enough time to get them involved, to invite them to make suggestions and requests, to criticize or change how I've shaped this narrative. Maybe they'll have ideas of what I have to do to change this series, to make sure I'm doing right by them by the time it comes out. Next week, I'm opening up the editing suite. I'm playing the drafts I have for Judy, Michael, and Ernesto.
It's nicer to be kind than to be cold all the time. To be free to call you mine and be able to see through it. I'm a fraud, you always knew it, even if I don't do it on purpose. But that's just on the surface. Getting deeper makes me nervous, but resisting doesn't service me anymore.
Radiotopia presents, this was episode 3 of Shocking, Heartbreaking, Transformative, a series about what happens to all of us, subjects, documentarians, and audiences, when stories about our lives become products. I'm Jess Shane. I wrote and produced this episode. My editor is Sarah Nix. The executive producer of Radiotopia is Audrey Mardovich. Radiotopia Presents managing producer is Yuri Lazordo. Contributing editors on this episode were Chioki Ayanson, Michelle Macklem, and Eleanor McDowell. Our sound designer and mix engineer is Michelle Macklem, and our music was composed by Eliza Niemi. Additional music by Michelle Macklem, and additional production support from Dante Hussein and Mona Hassan. Our episode art is by Justin Broadbent. And a big thank you to my friends and sounding boards, Ali Graham, Ivana Dizdar, Caitlin Prest, Christine White, Carla Green, Kate Sutherland, and Christina Hardinge. Our conversations were so essential in shaping the many iterations of this episode. I also want to shout out my friend Alex, who put in so many hours on behalf of Judy, her attorney, and me during the making of this episode. This reporting was also supported by the International Women's Media Foundation's Howard G. Buffett Fund for Women Journalists. Next week is our last episode. I hope you listen.
I'm so sorry that I'm fake sometimes. It's just how I've been trained, and I know that it doesn't justify my opaque little lies.
Radiotopia.